Welcome back. Welcome back. We are so excited to be here for the Q&A portion of our Green Hydrogen Day. We have two amazing college mentors who are going to introduce themselves, and then it's going to be your opportunity for teachers and students to get to those keyboards and type in some questions for these amazing mentors. We have Lorena's and Tiffany, and I see Tiffany's slide is up, so I'm going to pass it off to Tiffany to introduce herself. But please, teachers, don't be shy. Get to those keyboards and type us some questions.
Great. Thank you, Monica. Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany Jones. I'm a current senior at Bucknell University studying chemical engineering with a concentration in food science. So when it comes to my interest in engineering, I always knew that I was interested in either the food industry or cosmetics. Last year, I was an intern with PepsiCo on their beverages side doing research and development. And next year, or this summer, I'll be a full-time employee for Kraft Heinz. Next slide. Okay, so a little bit about my engineering journey. It started off in high school. I went to a small all-girls school, and they offered a engineering program for our junior and senior year. So for the 2 years, we basically learned about the different industries of engineering, the disciplines that you might go into when it comes to your undergrad experience, where we actually did a couple of Engineering Tomorrow labs. So that was my first intro to ET. But from there, I was inspired by the chemical engineering module that we did my junior year. And I kind of just took that and ran with it. So when it came to applying for schools, I knew that I wanted to go into chemical engineering. And I landed at Bucknell University, which is in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. Originally from New York, so it was like a 3-hour drive, not too bad. But when it comes to my involvement with engineering here on campus, I've done undergraduate research, which is a great opportunity to definitely look into wherever you end up at school. The picture at the top there with the little cuvette, that's a hydrogel. So I did research on degradable hydrogels over the summer a couple of years ago. I'm a part of AICHE, which is the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. So through this program / club, we attend a bunch of different conferences throughout the year where students can go present their research, go to workshops, network with other professionals and other students. So that's been a great opportunity. I've also been a very active member of our NSBE chapter, which is the National Society of Black Engineers, where I've been president of our chapter for 3 years now. So that's also been a really nice community to have outside of just the classroom. Some other involvements, I did a fellowship with L'Oreal, where again, it was a really nice opportunity to network with other students in engineering, finance, different sort of sectors within their undergrad. I'm doing research on cheddar cheese, which is why there's a random picture of cheese on my slide as well. So I've been doing that research for about a year now. And then the picture right below that is of beer. So I took a fermentation class last year where basically we spent the semester learning about the science behind brewing, and basically spent the semester making our own different types of beers and brews. And as I mentioned before, I did an internship with PepsiCo on the beverages side. So that was very in, I guess, relation to what I wanted to do in the future. And then this following summer, I will be a full-time employee at Kraft Heinz.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Larinas. I am a senior student at the University of Notre Dame studying electrical engineering and music theory, with minors in energy studies and German. My main interests in engineering have been the power grids and renewable energy, and just like the energy sector as a whole, along with audio technology. And so some of the experiences that I've had in college, the first outside outside experience from the classroom that I had was working with a professor of mine on nano antenna efficiency. So they're developing nano antennas that work in the infrared spectrum of light. And then my job was to do calculations to see how well they were performing, and then we'll come up with ways that we can potentially improve the design of them. And so that was my sophomore year, and that was the first time that I was really putting all the things that I had been learning about in lecture to use in an actual setting that mattered to people. And so then the summer after that, after my sophomore year, I worked at Burns & McDonnell, so they're an engineering firm. They cover a wide variety of different infrastructure, so that includes water, they build highways, airports, other transportation, and they also work on power grids. And so I was on the transmission and distribution team, and my team specifically was working on utility telecommunications. So there's sensors all along the power grid measuring voltages and currents, and that information needs to get sent to control centers. And so my team was responsible for building that telecommunication system to bring that information back to the utility control center. My junior year, I had the opportunity to participate in a one-credit seminar through the University of Notre Dame Center for Social Concerns. And so this gave me an opportunity to see a bit more of the policy side of energy. And so we discussed the different social impacts of energy. How do we make sure that changes to our energy industry and sector are equitable and just? And we also had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and speak with different policymakers. So there were some lobbyists, some trade organizations, and then also a senator that we were able to speak with about the policy that they were working on in DC at the time. And then after my junior year, that summer, I worked at Fraunhofer IEE. So that's a research institute in Kassel, Germany. And I was working on power system modeling software. And so this is software that's used to predict what the different voltages and currents in the power grid are, and to test different designs and see what types of lines and infrastructure should be built. Just some more pictures here at the top left. This is a screenshot of the AutoTune program I was working on last semester for one of my audio projects for one of my classes. That big harp and me conducting, that's one of the pieces I wrote in one of my composition classes for music theory, and I was able to conduct that. It was a fun concert. And then you've got some other projects in the bottom left. I got to go to the Department of Energy during that seminar. You can see in the middle bottom that there's that gray thing, 5 micrometers scale. That's the antennas that I was working on and analyzing data for. And then on the right is Chicago skyscraper where I worked for Burns and McDonnell, and then the fancy new building that I worked in Germany this past summer. So those were the slides. Now it's up to you to ask us questions. What do you want to know more about? Really, the floor is now up for you guys.
Well, I'm going to start it off while we wait for some questions to pop in chat. And the first question I'm going to ask for you is, we are talking to a bunch of high school students today who are probably in that application process, looking at colleges. You could just talk about your application process. How did you decide? And any tips for our high schoolers?
Sure, I could kick us off. So I would say 3 important things that I considered when it came to making my list of schools that I wanted to apply for or even just go to visit. The first thing you want to consider is location. So I'm sure you guys are all from different places, different areas. And so when it comes to looking at where you want to go for undergrad, you want to consider, is it a college or a school that I want to be able to drive to? Is it a school that I don't mind flying to? So definitely want to consider those questions when you're thinking about your list. For me, I preferred to not be on like a city campus. So I think that's another good thing to be on the lookout for. Are you looking for more of a campus feel where, majority of your buildings and living spaces are sort of in one enclosed area? Or are you looking for a city school where it might be, mixed in with the surrounding town? And then the third thing that I definitely considered when it came to making my list of schools was the involvement that you can get into. So Bucknell is a liberal arts school. It's not just engineering. There's 3 colleges, but overall it's liberal arts. And I'm sure you guys are doing something outside of just going to class and doing your homework. Maybe that's a sport, maybe it's theater, maybe it's dance, or different types of hobbies. So when it comes to looking for schools, you definitely want to be able to continue those, or at least, try out some new hobbies that you might want to do. So finding a school where you're supported both academically, but also extracurricularly would be really important.
Yeah, for me, the considerations and just like college application, I was really only looking at schools that were relatively close to me. I'm from the Chicago suburbs, and so like U of I was a big one, U Chicago, Northwestern. I think the farthest school that I was looking at was Vanderbilt in Tennessee. So like 8-hour drive. Because when you're on breaks, so I knew that I'd want to come back to see my family, and I know that my friends who are studying who are from California and then fly to Indiana for school, they're only like coming back to see their family like once a year or maybe twice. I get to see my family a lot more, and that's important to me. Um, the other big decision factor, it's the money. You want to make sure that the schools that you're applying to are going to be affordable for you after you graduate, because the tuition only keeps growing. And at the same time, like look out for those scholarships that you can be applying to. Look at what schools are offering financial aid that is affordable for you, because with the field of engineering, there's a lot of standardization that occurs in the curriculum. And so even if you don't go to one of like an Ivy League, for example, you're still going to find a job after you graduate. And if you're able to do that with less debt, that's a pretty solid move.
And I see we have a question here in the chat. What is your dream job in the field of engineering?
I can take that one. My answer changes constantly. Right now, I just learned about this specialized field called computational musicology. And so that's doing programming and signal analysis of music to try to extract semantic information. So things like style, tempo, other more like abstract things. And so I'm starting to look into that because I think I think it's really cool.
I would say for me, I really am interested in like cosmetics or food. So I think right now with the job I'll be going into after I finish here at Bucknell will be a really fun experience for me. It's a rotational program in the field of food. So I think like that's one of my dream jobs. So we'll see how it goes, and I'm really excited to experience it. But maybe sometime in the near future, like I might have an opportunity as well in cosmetics. I would say those are my top two. And then we have another question here. What is your favorite project you have done while in college?
For me, I think it's going to be the auto-tune project that I worked on last semester. So there's like already software that's existed for 20 years that does auto-tune. But we wanted to take a crack at it and try to do it on our own. So we wrote that a GUI, so a graphic user interface that lets you upload a short audio clip, and then you're able to like do an auto-tune preset of modifying the pitches, but then you're also able to control individual pitches. And so if you want to fine tune it yourself afterwards, you can do that. That was a lot of fun.
Cool. I would say for me, one of my favorite projects I've done was actually my first year. All the engineers here take Engineering 100, which is like an intro course to engineering for all engineering disciplines. And so in this course, we were doing a chemical engineering module, and we got to create our own deodorants. So with this project, we all split into teams. We got to decide like the base of the deodorant, the scent of the deodorant, the packaging, the label, all of that fun stuff. And so I would say that was one of my favorite projects, and I actually still have it today. I kept it as like a little keepsake, but I would say that was probably one of my favorite projects I've done. Can you give an example of how green hydrogen might be used in a rural community such as the one my students live in Pennsylvania?
So one thing that green hydrogen can be used for is fueling of vehicles. And so I don't know exactly what the rural community looks like in Pennsylvania, but I can imagine that there's different farm machinery that needs to be powered with something. And so one of the advantages of green hydrogen over using like electric motors for everything or electric vehicles is that it's a bit more resilient to temperature changes, and the machinery still works in a familiar way to conventional fossil fuel powered. And so that's the trickier thing is then getting the infrastructure to get it to a rural community. And so if you have a renewable energy source nearby that's then powering a green hydrogen facility that's also nearby, you're able to transport that hydrogen pretty easily, and then and then it's able to be used more effectively and more efficiently.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say the biggest thing is definitely transportation. So thinking even like your buses, because those give off like a lot of fuel. So if you're using the green hydrogen route, it'd be a lot cleaner both for the environment, but just the sustainability of the bus itself. So those are some ways you might use it. The next question we have here, can you each elaborate more on why you chose the schools you did? What did you feel it offered to help you with your life goals?
I will just continue with this. So I chose Notre Dame. So the lights are turning on and off in this room. It's a bit unsettling. I chose Notre Dame. So there's the ultimate reason came down to financial aid. They were able to offer me better aid than the public schools that I was applying to, and that really sealed the deal for me. I'm going to be honest, it ended up being about the money for me. And also Notre Dame's a great school. It's it's the top Catholic research institute. And I knew that there was a wide variety of things for me to explore. When I was graduating high school, I did not know what I wanted to do. I only declared my major, I only declared electrical engineering sophomore year and music theory junior year. So there's plenty of time, even once you're at an institution, to figure that stuff out. And with Notre Dame, there's a lot of different opportunities available for students. And so you can get involved with student clubs. Their alumni come visit to talk about their careers, and you're able to gain some mentorship through them. And things like that, I think, are really I've been able to take advantage of a lot of those things, and that's definitely pushed my future forward.
I would say for me, one of the important things was again proximity to home. So Lewisburg is only about a 3-hour drive from my home in New York. The second thing was that kind of similar to Notre Dame, Bucknell, they are known for like a really good engineering program. So when I was just doing research about close schools in the area that had, exceptional engineering programs, Bucknell happened to be on the list. And then as also mentioned, the affordability. So when you're looking at different schools, you want to make sure that you're looking at the scholarships that the school offers, but also scholarships that you can apply outside of your school and bring with you to the university. So location, just the program and the reputation of the engineering program here at Bucknell, as well as affordability were, I guess, the main things why I chose here. And what it offered for my life goals. I came in having an idea of what I wanted to do after Bucknell. So I would say, in a sense, the professors that I've met through, a bunch of different courses, some of them have similar passions. Some of them have had, careers in that path or know people who have had careers in that path. So I've been able to build relationships with professors, but also alum who have come to visit campus. Like my cheddar cheese project, for example, that's with one of my professors who's also interested in like food science and engineering. So I feel like those relationships you'll find when you're on a campus, that is willing to help you progress in your life goals. And that's something Bucknell has definitely helped me to do. You'll have your career fairs, you'll have your networking opportunities. But if you find a campus where they're basically just your cheerleaders and they're trying to get you to the next step, that's something that helps a lot in the long run. So I appreciate that here.
Interesting question. Oh, sorry. Okay. Disadvantages or issues associated with green hydrogen, or the challenges associated. The big issue with green hydrogen, I'd say there's two. The first is the compounding efficiency losses that occur. So when you're looking at an energy system, there's different levels of energy carriers. So the primary examples are like direct sunlight. Which is then converted into a secondary form via solar panel into electricity. Or if you're looking at petroleum, like raw petroleum being drilled from the ground is the primary energy source, which is then refined into a secondary source, into like gasoline for your car or other petroleum products. And then green hydrogen ends up being a tertiary energy source because you've taken electricity from somewhere, which is secondary, and you're then converting that electricity into hydrogen. So now that's tertiary. And so each conversion step along that way, you're losing energy along that process due to thermodynamics. And so if your hydrolysis process is 50% efficient, and then the solar panels that you're using are 25% efficient, you're now down to 12% efficiency for the hydrogen that you're using. And so one of the questions that arises is this really the most efficient use of our energy resources? I know I
Yeah.
said I had a second thing, but I just forgot it. I'm sorry.
I would say another con that I'm thinking of, or I guess a disadvantage of green hydrogen, it's expensive. So that's another thing to consider compared to other, raw materials that you might use or other energy resources that you might use. And then in terms of safety, it's also flammable. So when it comes to storing it and transporting it to, different areas wherever it's being used, there are just additional safety factors that you have to consider. But for cons, like as we know, it's versatile. So you could use it for transportation, you can use it for energy, you can use it for as a raw material for different products, etc. But I would say there's definitely, I think with everything, there's just pros and cons that you have to balance with each decision that you make. So with, I think, the growing climate change that we're experiencing right now, sometimes cost is something that maybe is weighed a little bit less compared to other factors. So we'll see how it takes place in the near future.
Just a fun fact about hydrogen is that when it burns, you can't see the flame with the human eye. And so if there's a hydrogen fire happening, you'll hopefully feel the heat first, but you won't be able to see it happening. And so that's another just safety issue that hydrogen presents.
Cool.
Another,
Oh, I was going to read the next
but
one.
you can take it.
Okay. What other field of interest can be combined with engineering? How is the job market for engineering in the US? The job market for engineering is great. I think it'll stay great probably for a while. The different fields of interest, the list like goes on. I can't even list all of them, but just for chemical engineering alone, you can go into food science, you can go into energy, you can go into pharmaceuticals. You can go into management. You don't even necessarily have to be, in the lab or doing the hands-on work that you might necessarily relate to engineering. You could work at an engineering firm. So if it's something that you want to start your own, where you're helping other, I guess, construction companies or that sort of thing, you could do that. You can work on environmental engineering through Chemi. There's a lot of different, I guess, fields of interest per engineering discipline that just makes the list super extensive. So if there's something that you're interested in, I'm sure whatever engineering major you end up choosing, there'll be some sort of route to apply it.
Some examples from electrical engineering. I've been able to combine music and electrical engineering. There's a lot of signal processing, microphone speakers, the whole gamut of things that electrical engineering influences, especially now that with like digital technology being present literally everywhere. I know I've had one of my professors, he's done like a linguistics project and working with some linguists for like speech analysis, things like Siri, that's also falls kind of into the electrical/computer science discipline. Communications, any product that is ever being made there's going to be electricity along the way now. So yeah, like the possibilities are really endless. That's why I chose electrical engineering, because I thought it was cool, and I thought electromagnetism was neat as a concept. I wasn't a fan of chemistry, sorry. And I knew that it could be applied to lots of different things. And so as I've discerned the other things I'm interested in, I knew that electrical engineering would be a good foundation. The job market for engineering is really high. The one exception I'd say is the tech sector. So that's a bit more on the computer science side. Lots of companies like Amazon, Apple, Google have been doing lots of rounds of layoffs in the past couple of years. So I know that my friends who in 2020, when they started, computer science was looking really promising at that time. But then now in their senior year, they've had a bit more struggles trying to land a job than other engineering friends that I have. So that's just something to be on the lookout. I am pretty confident with electrical engineering and like the power sector that there's with the new rounds of funding that have come through the Infrastructure Inflation Reduction Act that that that's energy industry is set for like 20 years that get like guaranteed.
I think another fun fact that I sort of learned in the high school program I did for engineering, we were visiting, I don't know, I think we were visiting like a Dannon plant or something, but the engineer was like, at least two or three of the products that you use to get ready this morning were touched by a chemical engineer. So like there's just, I think engineering is everywhere in your life. The toothpaste that you use, the deodorant that you put on, the lotion, etc. Like there's engineering everywhere, down to the design, the product, everything. So there's definitely a place for everyone if that's something that you're looking to pursue. The next question we have here: how do you manage your time between engineering and other activities on campus?
So for me, the transition that happened to me is that I now put absolutely everything on my Google Calendar. And so like all of my lectures, meetings, I now also unfortunately have to put like if I want to get lunch with a friend, that also goes in. And that's just so that I'm not keeping all of like the scheduling in my head, and I have it like externally so that I don't have to think about and I don't have to remember when something is happening. Um, Also, I think having a good study group definitely helps you in engineering. Engineering is a really collaborative discipline. Out in the real world, like you're never going to be like working on a project completely by yourself. You're always working with multiple people with slightly different specialties so that you can like create the best product or best solution that you can. And so if you're able to collaborate well with others, that makes you not feel alone. And that also opens up your time to pursue other things. And so for me on Saturdays, I try to not do any homework. And so because I know that I need to have just one rest day where I'm completely not thinking about my academic obligations. And I think that really helps.
Yeah, those are really good points. Something that's helped me is using actually an online planner. I don't really like I don't know. It depends on the person. Sometimes it's better to write things out physically, but I've used an online planner for the past like 8 years, I would say. So it's like a little app that I could access both on my laptop and on my phone, and it keeps me on track with like exams coming up, as homework assignments that I have coming up, and just a general to-do list of what I have to accomplish within the week. So having something where you could routinely use it will definitely help when it comes to your time management. And then also your first year, wherever you end up, they're going to encourage you to get involved, which I definitely agree with. But there comes a balance to getting involved in every single thing that you can possibly do on campus, but then not doing anything. So you want to find a balance in between both, because if you find yourself, pulling yourself in different directions, you're not going to have time like for self-care or focusing on academics. So making sure that, yes, you have a couple things to do outside of, going to class, eating, and doing your homework, but not too many things where you're just stressed all the time and have no chance to actually relax. So make sure you find like a good balance between the two.
Well, I'm going to hop in because we have 1 minute left before our time is up. I know there's one more question in the chat, but I'm going to hand that question off to our mentors in the breakout rooms. So before we head back into the breakout rooms, I want to say thank you to Lorena and to Tiffany. This was an amazing Q&A. Thank you to the teachers who provided such great questions and engagement from your students. We're so happy that you guys are interested and wanting to know more about our amazing mentors. But it's time to get back to your designing and your challenge for the day.